Hey there, Patriots. This is Shortlow Patriot coming at you with another one. Um, the two video clips I'm going to show you now is what certain things that happened in New York a couple of days ago, over the weekend, and as far as yesterday, I believe, or the day before that. But the news is coming out today. I put a video out about like some of the chaos that's been going on, but it seems that one of these asylum seekers out in Randall's Island in that tent city was murdered by another one. Okay. But before I continue, don't forget to please comment, like, share, subscribe, give the channel a thumbs up, pass it around, spread the word. If you would like to help support the channel, give it a thumb. In my description, there's a link to my Cash App and PayPal. And also, if you want to help support the channel, also subscribe and give it a thumbs up. That helps out a lot with the algorithm. The other story I want to tell you also is how this whole situation with all these migrants coming in is getting out of control. It's unsustainable. And a lot of people may keep asking, you know, what do you mean when you say unsustainable? Unsustainable to the point that they have nowhere to put these people. Okay? And by the Democrats' own bullheaded thinking, their own ignorance, okay, their own thirst for power, control, to be able to have voters. Like I said, the Democrats don't care about all these migrants coming in mass. Okay? Now I'm going to show this clip, and I want to point something out in the clip so people could understand a certain mindset that comes in, not by all the migrants that are coming here, but something that Donald Trump said. And me, a person born and raised in the streets, especially in New York City, I can relate to something that was said in this news clip that a lot of people won't catch. But if you're from the streets, you'll catch it. Okay? So without further ado, here we go.
And more violence in New York City due to the out-of-control border crisis, with tensions running high at makeshift migrant shelters. One fight even took a deadly turn over the weekend. The New York Post describing those migrant tent cities as helter shelter, for good reason. Alexis McAdams is live from Randall's Island in New York City. Good morning, Alexis.
Hey, Dana. Yeah, a lot of things unfolded over the weekend with the migrant crisis here in New York City. We can tell you one migrant here in Randall's Island was stabbed at least one time in his torso. He was rushed to a local hospital, but he didn't make it. Take a look on your screen. This is where it all unfolded here in Randall's Island on Saturday night, just after 7 o'clock there, happening right outside of that migrant shelter. And remember, Dana, these were sports fields, right, for kids? Well, they're now home to these massive migrant facilities. You can see there police responding to the area after the guy was reportedly surrounded and attacked. Investigators say he had more than one stab wound, and it was a 27-year-old migrant who was arrested for this fatal stabbing, now charged in connection to this incident. So this came just hours after chaos erupted outside another migrant center in New York City. Witnesses there say a migrant tried to cut this long line you're looking at, where hundreds were waiting to sign up for temporary housing. They wait there for hours for this. That's when this fight broke out. 2 NYPD officers were injured in the incident, and at least 2 guys faced charges in that case. People who live nearby say this line is always snaking around the building. Listen.
There are literally hundreds every day lined up around the block, all the way to the next block and around the corner.
So right now, at least 70,000 migrants are being housed and fed by New York City, and more than 160,000 migrants and counting have come to the Big Apple since 2022. The New York Post also reporting that over the weekend, a group of migrants were arrested for shoplifting after reportedly trying to run right out of Bloomingdale's in Manhattan with thousands of dollars worth of designer sunglasses. And that's all just in the past 72 hours, right, Dana? So a lot happening here, and we'll keep an eye on what's going on at Randall's Island.
Okay, so you heard that. Okay? One more thing. I want to thank all my new subscribers and all my subscribers. It seems like whenever I put out a video like this, more and more people are aware and they're subscribing to the channel, and I thank you for that. Okay? I'm not trying to put out any information to get anybody hurt or for anybody to look down on anybody else because they want a better life. Okay? My intention is to show people what's going on because the mainstream media, it's not putting this stuff out. Okay. When anybody puts it out, it's either Fox News or Newsmax or The Hill, and then the mainstream media will try to deem them or anybody like us, like, you know, we're racist because, you know, we don't want the migrants here, this and that, yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. Go kick rocks, I tell them. Because you're lying to the people, number one. And if you think that by pointing out what's going on when you let in so many different people from so many different countries, you have so many different cultures clashing. If you think by pointing that out is doing them a disservice, no, damn it. You're doing them a disservice by letting tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, at this point millions of people from all around the world that do not share the same cultural, how can I say, for lack of a better word, interest. Okay? Because they just don't. The one thing they have in common is that they all want to leave their country and come to America and find jobs. That's not seeking asylum. Okay? And I'll bring that up for a couple of reasons. And this is the problem with letting in so many migrants in. And the next clip I'm going to show you how it's affecting American people even more. So please stay with me. Okay? Now, I did the video on those two men that got into a fight because they were talking about, oh, that nobody knows how to respect the line. Well, damn it, you didn't respect our border, so why should you come here thinking that you deserve any kind of freaking respect? That's just my opinion. My patience is getting so damn thin, okay, with what's going on. Okay, but I'm trying to keep it together because, like I said, I'm not trying to paint these migrants as if all of them are evil people. But the Democrats, like I said, do not give a shit about the migrants, nor do they care about Americans. Now, you heard about the migrant that was killed in the tent city on Randall's Island. Sadly. Now, here's the thing. They finally identified him. God only knows if he's here with family or he came by himself. Now, unless they can contact family or friends back wherever he came from, they'll never know that guy is dead. They'll never know. They're probably thinking he's having a hard time communicating, and they're probably praying for him and saying, you know what? Hopefully he's gotten a job and he didn't get arrested and he's trying to do the right thing, but he's gone. That's it. He's gone. That's number one. So let that sink into everybody's freaking head. For one. Number two, you heard that he was surrounded by a group of men and he was stabbed multiple times. This is something that a lot of people need to be afraid of. And I don't care who it offends. I really don't. But it's the truth. When you're born and raised in the streets like I have in New York City, in the Bronx, that is a gang mentality to do something like that. Okay? And what did Donald Trump say? That everybody thinks that he's trying to play the boogeyman. Nobody understands, damn it. He was the president of the United States. He got intel, more intel than any of us could ever read. More intel than anybody who thinks they're so damn smart because they're getting their information from somebody else. No, this man was the president. He knows who all these countries were letting go. And he was right when he said it. They were letting in their gang members, criminals, emptying out their prisons. Okay? Their insane asylums. I'm not saying that everybody that's coming across the border is a criminal. But if you don't vet these people, you'll never know who the hell they are. Now, some people may say, well, how do we vet them? Well, I don't know. Well, shit. They found out the guy's name who was murdered. Obviously, and hopefully that's his real name. So if that's his real name and they find out who exactly he is, they can vet these people and find out who are the criminals. Okay? So once again, Donald Trump was not wrong. You just heard them. Groups of them now going into that clothing store in Manhattan trying to rob the place. The same thing is happening in Chicago. A lot of these people that come from these third world countries, they call them, okay? I hate using that term because in this day and age, every country, if they would just get rid of their corrupt leftist governments, countries would thrive. Okay, the people would thrive. Crime will go down. But you hear about it all the time. In Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, Venezuela, Chile, I mean, you name it, all up and down. They are thriving with gangs. Gangs that do things like this. They murder people, they kidnap people, they sell drugs, they're part of the drug cartel. They do whatever they can to survive. And when you let them in mass without knowing who they are, what's going to happen? They are going to form groups, gangs, and they're going to do stuff like this. They're going to start going in and robbing places, especially when they start catching wind. Their corrupt district attorneys, like in California, Chicago, New York, Colorado, where they're not arresting anybody for smash and grabs. They're feeling bold now. They're like, we can do it too. So cheers to the Democrats for that one. Okay, let's give them a round of applause. Because that's exactly what's going to keep happening. And I blame specifically the Democrats, not the Democratic voters. I get a lot of people sending me messages. We didn't vote for this. My heart goes out to you. But here's the thing, and I'll keep saying it, because I had one person write to me on a comment saying I'm a Democrat, and this was for a totally different topic. But I'm not against abortion. I'm not against illegal immigration. I'm against illegal immigration. I'm against abortion. So I wrote back. I said, and this is what I don't understand. If that's what you are, then why are you still voting Democrat? Okay. What more can a Democrat politician give you if you're against 50-60% of the stuff that they are for? Why are you still voting Democrat? And I get it. Chicago and New York, they're speaking, especially Chicago, they have spoken. They said they're going to flip a red. And I'm waiting on that. I'm banking on that. The country's banking on that. Okay? So I'm not out here to attack any Democrat voters, even though there are plenty that I can, but that's not the case right now. It's the politicians that are doing this, because even the Democratic voters in Chicago that are fed up, Brandon Johnson's not listening. They keep bringing him in. They're letting him in. Eric Adams letting him in. They don't care. That for as much as Democrat voters now are pushing back, they don't care. So now you got a dead migrant. You got people in custody. That is gang mentality. Groups of guys don't get together and start stabbing people. That is a group, street, hood mentality. That is a criminal mentality. And this is why I keep putting information like this out. And information like this, a lot of people are putting out that needs to be heard. Because we don't know who's who. And especially when you got corrupt district attorneys in all these blue cities, okay, that are letting out criminals with no cash bonds. We've been hearing it in the news for the past 3 years. Since the Biden regime, since Gavin Newsom took over in California, how many people have been raped, attacked, murdered because they keep letting criminals out? So beware. Because now you see that the natives that came here from outside, now they're getting restless. But you need to understand one thing. And again, I don't care who I offend. A lot of these people that are coming from these countries, they do things differently when it comes to survival. Remember that. It's no secret. We've seen the documentaries for years. Let's not all play stupid. It's on Netflix and HBO and whatever other news network or whatever other channel that wants to put out documentaries like PBS and all that. They always talk about the criminal elements and all these Latin American countries, stuff like that, and they, try to paint these people as, oh, well, this is how they survive. Well, guess what? Well, now they're here. Now they're here. Now they're in a country that has a party that's willing to give them everything and anything they want. But if they don't get it fast enough, they're going to take it from everybody else and from each other. Remember that. So with that part being said on what's happening, I do feel bad for that person whose life was taken. Life is precious. Don't know exactly who he is. Don't know how the fight started. All the real details haven't come out. But how much does anybody want to bet that if this was in a way with not gang related, like it was payback or something, but if anybody in that group is part of a gang, how much does anybody want to bet that's not the information that's going to be put out? Because it'll make Donald Trump right again. And it'll make the Democrats wrong. And now if you think that's bad, so much for Eric Adams doing the right thing. Now he's taken away from American school children to finish kicking voters in the face. Here we go.
Everyone here live now from Fox. We appreciate you continuing to join us here as always. I am your host, Mike Page. Always great to be here with you as we bring you the top stories, live feeds. Remember, when breaking news happens, we have you covered here. Well, we want to get to a big talker that is happening in New York City here, where a school had to be shut down. Not because there was a snowstorm, not because of maybe of a natural disaster, but because they needed room for migrants there in the city. We've been talking more and more about the issue there with the crisis that continues in New York City. And now joining me here live on Live Now from Fox in New York is Fox News' Nate Foy with the latest here on this big talker.
Parents are really upset with what's happening with their children, and specifically coming off the COVID learning experience. And we've seen the negative effects with the test scores, and a lot of parents are concerned that their children are being left behind. But I'll start with the newest information, and that is that students will be back in person in school at James Madison High School in Brooklyn tomorrow, but that's not the case today. They're learning remotely, although a lot of parents say that they believe their kids are just on TikTok. A lot of parents have said that teachers aren't even showing up for these online classes. So they say that remote learning is just a euphemism for no learning at all. And you mentioned this is all happening because the city is out of space to put illegal migrants who crossed our southern border. Take a look at this video. Nearly 2,000 of them were staying at a nearby tent facility, but they had to be moved because of strong winds and rain that brought some security risk at that tent facility. So they moved in last night. The school notified the parents of the 3,600 students that go to James Madison High School here in Brooklyn. Take a look at this statement from the city. They wrote, quote, "The health and safety of migrants in our care is always a top priority, which is why we are currently overseeing the relocation of 1,900 guests from the Humanitarian Emergency Response and Relief Center at Floyd Bennett Field."
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. I'm going to dissect this a little bit. You know, Mayor Adams was the worst choice for New York. Kathy Hochul, same thing. Brandon Johnson, same thing. Gavin Newsom, same thing. I mean, all of them were the worst choice for these democratically run cities in all these states. Okay? That's number one. Number two, so nobody thinks that I don't have a heart. Okay? Yes, it is scary to be out there in a tent knowing that you have a bad storm coming. Okay, so did they need to find them shelter? Of course. But this goes back to close the damn border. Shut it down. Do whatever you got to do. Because not only are you letting all these people in, you're making them a liability for your own personal wicked, evil gain. Okay? Now, again, some people may say, well, they needed somewhere to go. Yeah, I agree. But all this money that you're spending, you could have just sent them right back across the border. If you're going to spend all this money, if you're going to take taxpayer money to house them and feed them and then give them whatever they need every month, you might as well just send them back to wherever they came from and just mail them a check. You might as well, because you're just taking more and more resources from Americans. Now, it's bad enough our school system is shot, because everybody knows that the Board of Education is run by tyrannical Democrats. So the Board of Education is shot. Unless a state, unless a county, okay, decides to take over the board and, certain schools and school districts, that's the only way they have some kind of control. But for the most part, 90%, 95% of it is just shot, is run by tyrants. So now you go and you push American kids away from schooling. You're going to put the burden on their parents, who a lot of them can't afford to let them stay home. They need them to go to school so they can go to work. But you put the burden on them. And this is where I say enough is enough. This right here, when it comes to kids, if anybody knows me, if anybody looks at my earlier content, when it comes to kids, that's it. It's over. I draw the line in the sand. No, I don't want to hear no more about being a humanitarian, about helping them. Where's your humanism? They need help. I don't want to hear it no more. Because now you've crossed the line. It's bad enough that the taxpayer that's going to work has no say-so. But now you're going to go and tell their kids that they got to stay home because you got to make room for people that came here illegally. Whether it's for a night, whether it's for a week, whatever the case is. Once again, you get your constituents' votes and then you shit on them. Not surprising. But what I find really, there's a lot of things I find really disturbing, but another thing I find disturbing is this right here. The health and safety of migrants in our care is always a top priority. Really? What about the taxpayers and their kids? Just curious question. And I say that because you're bringing in people that nobody knows about, and you're putting, Americans at risk every day because we don't know who in the hell all these people are. Like I said, I'm not advocating for anybody to hate them or anything like that, but my thing is this. I'd be just as skeptical. I'd be like, I don't know who these people are. I don't know where they came from. They're roaming the streets. They're looking for work. They're getting desperate. It's already showing how desperate they're getting. And then it says, which is why we are currently overseeing the relocation of 1,900 guests. Oh, now they're guests. Well, I wonder, Mayor Adams and, all you leftists, how many guests have you taken in from the street that you had no idea who they were to just come stay in your house? Or push your kids out of school, or whatever the case is? I'd like to, I can honestly say it's probably none. Okay, because you leftist politicians, you don't give anything of yours. You take from everybody else to give to everybody else. Just like communists do. Just like socialists do. Okay? But let's continue.
Now, I mentioned that a lot of parents are really concerned about the impact to their child's learning experience. Florida Governor and presidential hopeful Ron DeSantis spoke last night. He said that a lot of people have jobs and they need their children to physically be in school. And here was his reaction to learning about what was happening here in New York last night. Take a listen here.
It's disgraceful. The city government is commandeering the school to house illegal aliens.
So the migrants are now back at that tent facility at Floyd Bennett Field here in Brooklyn. But the concerns, Mike, are, surrounding the questions of will this happen again? If it does, will it happen at this high school or a different high school? The city's been answering questions all day on this. The Office of Emergency Management Commissioner said that James Madison High School, specifically, the city is not planning on using it again in a similar situation. However, Mayor Adams consistently says that the city's out of space to house migrants and that all options are on the table. So a lot of parents are certainly upset and nervous about what's to come. We're in the middle of a winter in New York City, and harsh conditions are all but assured in the coming months. So we'll see if this continues to happen. We'll send it back.
Okay, that's the key phrase right there. That's that double talk, that double speak, that split tongue the Democrats do. No, we're not going to do it again, but then again, all options are on the table. Okay? If we have to revisit it, we will. If a blizzard comes on, on Monday, that's what you are going to send the kids home. Or whatever the case is. Now, don't get me wrong. If there's a blizzard and they put the migrants in the school because the kids are staying home, okay, granted, they have some shelter. But why? When all you have to do is not spend any more taxpayer money and just send them back. Get your happy asses to Washington and tell your boy Biden, good Uncle Joe, we're done, man. Shut down the border. But they won't do that. Let's continue.
Back to you.
No, so true, Nate. And a lot of people are worried too, when they talk about, okay, anything can happen here. Does that mean then some parents are even worried that if it starts at the schools, does that mean sometimes the ICUs might be taken over by migrants? If you go to the ER, you can't get right in because they're holding the migrants in there as well?
I mean, that would be speculation, and any time that we ask, the mayor's office for specifics of where they would put these migrants, they're very hesitant to give us those specifics. So
of course they are.
Told us today, just a couple hours ago, not even an hour ago actually, that James Madison High School, they don't plan on using that again, but they can't commit to not using other schools, or you mentioned possibly ICUs, or any resource that the city has at this point feels to be in play, because not only is this a school, this is an active school, and we've previously seen school resources be used to house migrants, but this is the first time that students have been sent home as a result of this migrant crisis. So it really reflects the desperation on the part of the city government to find a place to put all these people.
Okay, you heard it for yourselves. Okay? He'll use whatever resources he seems fit. He will push Americans to the side. American children to the side. To take care of, like they say, their guests. This is where we're at, people. This is what Democrats do. And like I've always said before, there's a lot of rhinos out there that are behind this also. Okay? But there you have it. And you know what's going to happen in other places also. Thank God that the weather all around it's been kind of weird, but it's been cold and warm and rainy and slushy, in some places some snow, but it's not so far a winter season where it's just, I mean, 2-3 below zero, like in Minnesota, Chicago, and places like that, Colorado, and just blizzard on top of blizzard. Because then what? Then you're gonna then you will have a humanitarian crisis. Now, I don't know if anybody paid attention to the clip before of how many migrants are in New York right now. They said 70,000. At one point, there was 160,000. I like to know, okay, where the other 90,000 went. And I don't want to hear they sent them all back, because you know for a fact they didn't. And that's just in New York. Never mind the numbers that they're fudging in Chicago, Colorado, Philadelphia, California, I mean, Oregon. Nobody hears much about Oregon, what's going on out there. But it's out there also. It's out there. There you go, folks. You got a killing. You got fights. You got people banding together to go rob places. You got kids being sent home from school to make room for the migrants. If anybody asks me, where is my humanism? Where is my humanitarianism in all this? No. I ask you, where is all the humanitarianism in this? Because I'm getting comments from people saying, oh, you know, they just came here for a better life. Yeah, no shit. We're trying to make a better life. And you're taking away from our lives to give them a better life. And I shouldn't be mad? Of course I'm mad. I'm mad for two reasons. One, because of how this is affecting Americans. And two, because look at the mess that this democratic regime has made, and look at the peoples that they have put their lives in jeopardy, which includes the migrants, by doing the same thing they've done to their constituents. Make them promises they can't keep. So now Americans are suffering, and now the migrants are suffering. That's what I got for you. Please comment, like, share, subscribe. Give it a thumbs up. Pass it around. Pass the word around. Okay? And if you can help support the channel, I'll leave a link in my description to my Cash App and PayPal. Until then, stay vigilant, keep praying, and keep praying for each other. Peace.